Hey guys, Benton here for CD Tuts once again, and in this tutorial we're going to go over the creation of this ballistic shield in 3D Studio Max, and I will be using 3D Studio Max 2012 for this, rather than Max 9, which I've used in my previous tutorials. Okay, so this is pretty much what a SWAT guy or maybe a riot cop might carry. We pretty much have a bulletproof shield here, and if you're thinking to yourself that you've seen this model somewhere before, you're absolutely correct. I released this a few months ago on CD Tuts as a freebie, and let's just actually grab that post. And here it is here, and you can find this by either going into the freebie section or just by clicking on my name there. And here's the model here, and you can just freely download this and use it for whatever you want. It comes with the textures and everything. And there was a request down here in the comments from Frost Raver asking if I could do a tutorial on this particular model, and I thought that was a great idea, so that's pretty much what we're going to aim for today. And sorry guys that I haven't had a chance to reply to your comments. I never seem to have time to do it. Okay, so pretty much we'll be aiming for this exact same model, and we'll be doing the modeling, UVs, and texturing. And the model is pretty high res. We're looking at a couple 100,000 polygons here. Most of these pieces are turbo smoothed. So what I decided to include in the tutorial was how to optimize a model after you have it built. Okay, so after we have this all modeled out, we have the turbo smoothed all these pieces. We're actually going to collapse it down and go through a process of manually optimizing the mesh to lower the poly count. I believe the original one here was a couple 100,000, and the final one was maybe 20 or 30,000. So we can get quite a reduction in the poly count by manually optimizing the mesh. Okay, so in the first part here, we'll do the model, and I'm going to try to get this a little shorter than my last couple of tutorials that have been extremely long. We'll pretty much aim for all the modeling in one post, then we'll do the UVs, and finally the textures. And the texture on something like this is actually quite simple, and it's also just rendered with the scanline renderer here. Okay, so let's jump into Max here and we'll get started on the model. Okay, so here we are in Max, and you'll notice that I switched to Max 2012 from Max 9. Alright, so I'm going to be using the newest version for this tutorial. And if you don't have the newest version, it's not a big deal. I won't be using any tools that are native to this version. Everything I'll be doing for modeling will be available in all versions of Max. Okay, so let's just take a look at some reference pictures here that I have. I have two of these. This one here is pretty straight on, so we're going to be using this as a blueprint to model this over top of. And then I also have another one here where we can see the back of it. And you can see it's pretty simple. We just have a couple of handles here, as well as this bar that kind of goes over your arm when you're holding on to this. So it shouldn't really take that long to model, and it should be pretty simple to do. So let's go back to Max here. And we'll just start by drawing out our plane there for the blueprint. And another thing I'm going to do off the start here is just turn down the intensity of these grids. You can see that's pretty intense, and it probably even looks worse with the compression on the video. So to do that, I'm just going to go up to Customize, down to Customize User Interface, and we'll go over to the Colors tab here and change the elements to grids. And we can just turn the intensity down here, and I'm just going to do like 80 or something like that, so it's a little easier on the eyes. Okay, we'll close that, and then we'll just click in the views here to refresh it. Okay, so let's get started here. We'll go into the front view, and we'll just draw out a plane maybe. Okay, and don't worry about the size, we'll figure that out in a second. Let's get rid of these height segments. So I'm just going to right click the two spinners here for length and width to make it a 1x1 plane, and we'll also center it to the world here by right clicking on the move tool and right clicking on all the spinners here for the XYZ. Alright, let's also go into the top view, and we'll just push this back a little bit from the center mark so we have some room to model this in front. Alright, let's turn our shading off F3. I'm just going to get those grids out of there with G, and we'll turn off selection of brackets with J, and our edges on with F4. Alright, so let's open up the material editor here, and we'll just grab a new slot, and let's go down to the map box for the fuse channel, and we'll just choose bitmap here, and we'll pick our front image. And you can see down here the size, 584 by 964, so we're going to want to make our plane that size so we don't have any distortion in the image. Okay, so let's open that up. Let's assign it to the plane and show it to the viewport. And we'll just go over into the Modify panel here and adjust the size a bit. Okay, so we want to do 964 on the length and 584 on the height, or the width, sorry. Okay, so that looks pretty good, and that should be decent to model against. Alright, and if you're not using the newest version of Max here, you might want to go into the self-illumination for the map here, and turn this up to 100% just so you get rid of any shadowing on the image. It's not really going to work here in max 12 because of the new viewport engine, and as you can see, if I turn it up to 100%, it's pretty much just blown out solid white here, so I'm going to leave that at 0, but you might want to crank that up a bit. Okay, so let's get started. Let's maybe start this with another plane. So we'll go back to the create panel there, grab a plane, and we'll just draw that out over top. Okay, and just try to get about the approximate size that we need. Doesn't really matter, we can adjust it in a second. And I'm also going to change my viewport shading here to shade it from realistic so we don't have any shadowing. Alright, let's maybe just assign a standard gray shader to this. So let's open up material editor again with M, and we'll just grab another slot and assign it to the plane there. Alright, and we'll just immediately right click and convert the steadable poly. And we'll just adjust the verts here. Alright, so I'm going to hit Alt X to toggle see-through on. Let's grab those two top verts there, and we'll just kind of match the size here that we need. Okay, so we'll maybe bring these bottom ones up a little bit. And we're going to need to curve this over a little bit at the bottom as well as quite a bit here at the top, which we'll do in a second. So just pretty much line those up right about there, and that looks pretty good. Alright, so let's get a vertex here. We also want to make sure that our plane is centered to the world, so we'll just go down to the bottom here and right click the X spinner to make sure that it's centered and lined up with the plane correctly. Okay, in order to bend this, we're going to need to add some vertical segments here, so let's go over to edge, and we'll just grab the top and bottom edge, and we'll just do a connect on that. Okay, and let's maybe take it up to about 8 or so, and we won't do any pinch or any slide. We'll hit OK to that. And that should be enough resolution for us to curve the top over. Alright, so let's go back to vertex here. And let's just maybe grab the top vertex, verts here. Right, and we could manually move these up to kind of adjust this, but we could also probably use a bend modifier just to get a little bit more of an even curve on the top. Okay, so with these top verts selected here, I'm going to leave it in vertex mode, and then we're going to put a bend modifier on top of this. Okay, so go into the modify stack there, grab a bend modifier, and just drop that on. And because we're in vertex sub-object mode with the selection, it's only going to affect these verts here. It's not going to affect the entire plane. Alright, so we'll take this up a little bit. Let's also do it on the x-axis here. And let's change the direction to 90. Okay, and you can see that's just going to curve out the top. And it's going to leave the bottom straight, which is what we want. Alright, so we'll just curve this a little bit more. Let's do maybe about 45 on the angle. We'll leave it at 90 on the direction and on the x-axis. Okay, so let's just right click and we'll collapse that back down to edit poly. Alright, so that curve's going to be baked into the mesh now. And then we can go back to vertex here and just move those top verts back up and kind of line them up with the picture there. Alright, and it looks like we could have bent it a little bit more, so I'm just going to manually move these down a little bit. Just grab the pairs of verts there on the outside and just slightly move it down a little bit more. And the end ones here a little bit more. And something like that should work fine. Alright, so we'll go down to the bottom here. And let's just grab the bottom verts. We'll do the same thing here. Drop on another bend modifier. Set the direction to -90 this time because we want to bend it the opposite way. Do it on the x-axis and just take up the angle a little bit here. And for this one we don't need very much of a bend. Let's do maybe like 12. Okay, and now we'll collapse it down to edit poly again to bake that in, and we'll just grab the bottom verts and just move it down a little bit so it lines up a little bit better. Okay, don't worry if it's right on. We're going to be turbo smoothing pretty much everything on the shield so we can adjust the curves a little bit more later on. Okay, and you can see the top's a little bit tapered in. So if you want to fix that, just select those top verts and we'll just slightly scale it out on the x-axis here to straighten the edges, just like that. Okay, so that's pretty much the shape we're looking for. Just going to go into perspective here. Let's get rid of those selection brackets. And I'm also going to change this from realistic to shaded here so we don't have any shadowing. Okay. And now we need to give it a little bit of a curve towards the back here, so we'll just select the entire object. Let's put on another bend modifier this time. Okay, and we'll do this on the X again, and we'll take it up. Okay, you can see there that it's bending it back. All right, we want to leave the direction on this one at 0, and we don't need a lot of curve on it. Let's maybe dial that down a bit. Let's do this in the top view. Let's maybe do around maybe 35. We'll see how that looks. So we need to go up a little bit more. So maybe try like 38. Now let's take it down to 35 again. Don't want it to be too curved. Okay, so that should work fine. So let's maybe right click and collapse editable poly again. And that'll be pretty much the shape of the shield. So now we can just start adding the rest of the detail to it. Alright, let's maybe hit Alt X again. And let's zoom in a bit, and we'll just maybe add a couple of edges here for this window that we need to cut out. Alright, so let's jump back into Edge, and we'll just grab all the vertical edges here. And let's do a connect on that. And we'll just slide this up to the top. Okay, we'll leave it about there for now. Hit OK to that. And I'm just going to go up and turn on my edge constraint here. And we'll just straighten this edge out by making planar on X. Whoops. Y, I mean, sorry. Okay, now that we have that straightened out, we'll just move it up a little bit here. And we'll put it right about there. Okay, we'll add another one here for the top. So let's grab these edges. Do another connect. Okay, and we'll just slide that down a little bit and make planar on Y. And we'll just put that right about there. Let's actually make it a little bit bigger. And let's maybe move this edge just down a little bit. So I'm just going to loop that and slightly move it down. Okay. And let's maybe grab these polygons here across the center. And let's maybe do an inset on this. Okay, so we'll take the inset up a little bit. Maybe about 7 or 8. Hit OK to that. And we'll just move these verts here. I'm just going to grab these two here and the two on the other side. Okay, just these two and these two. And we'll go to scale, and with our edge constraint on, we're just going to scale this towards the center a little bit here. All right, we want to kind of have the shape there that we need to cut out. All right, and you can see that the image is a little bit off. It's not going to line up on both sides, but that really doesn't matter. We'll just worry about the left side here. Okay, so let's put it right about there, and that should be good. Okay, we might want to space these edges out just a little bit more here. Let's grab these verts here. I'm just going to slightly move these down a little bit more. All right, just to give it a little bit more space. We'll do the same thing with these ones here. Slightly move that up. Okay, and I think that should work. So let's give this thing some thickness here, and we'll do that by adding a shell modifier to it. So just go down to the modifier list and find shell. Slap that on there, and we'll just take up the inner amount maybe, and figure out how thick we need this. Let's do about 13 or so. And we'll also go down to the bottom here and check on straighten corners. All right, and that'll just help straighten out these corners here if they're twisted at all. Okay, so that looks about right. Let's collapse it back to editable poly. And we also need to kind of extrude out a little border here that runs around the outside. So we'll do that by just insetting these out front and back polygons here. Right, so let's go to the front view. Just gonna try to select all these in one shot. Okay, just like that. And we don't really need to do the window ones here, so we'll just deselect these quickly. Okay, like that. And the same selection here on the back. And we'll just do an inset on this. I'm just going to turn off my polygon shading with F2 in the front view. And we'll toggle see-through again. And let's just inset these now. Okay, we'll just take it up a little bit here. It doesn't have to be a lot. Let's do maybe around 6.5. And we'll hit OK to that and get it a polygon. Okay, I'm just going to go into isolation mode here with Alt-Q. And we're going to need to clean up the front here a little bit. You can see these edges went bent. Okay, so the easiest way to do that will just be to go to Vertex and just target weld these back down. Okay, so let's go to target weld here. And we're just going to kind of weld all these verts here back to the ones that we originally had. We'll start with this one here and just weld to this corner. We'll just work our way along the top here, welding these back down. Okay, and the same thing underneath here. Just weld these ones back up. Okay, and we'll go around the back and do the exact same thing here. Okay, so now we have the polygons the way we had them before we did this outside inside. Alright, and to cut the actual window in here, let's go back to polygon, and we'll just grab these 5 polys on the front and the exact same 5 polys on the back, and we'll just hit bridge down here to cut that hole through for us. Okay, we're going to have another piece that actually sits in here, which we'll build later on. Okay, so I think everything's looking okay so far. We do need to pull out this kind of trim that goes around the outside, so let's go to edge. Let's grab this corner edge on the front as well as the corner edge on the back. Let's do a ring on those, and then we'll control click polygon here. So we have a polygon selection around the front and back. Okay, and we'll zoom in here a little closer so we can see what's going on, and we'll just do an extrude on these faces. Okay, so let's just take that down a little bit. We don't want it to be too much. So maybe do about 3.5 on this one as well. So 3.5 and hit OK. And I'm just using generic units here in Max, by the way, which I should have mentioned at the start. Okay, you can check that by going up to the customize menu, down to unit setup, and it'll be on generic here by default. Okay, so we're looking pretty good. Okay, so now that we have this whole thing blocked out, we can start adding some support edges here so we can smooth this with the Turbo Smooth. If we were to drop that on right now, it's going to be completely screwed up. So let's put a Turbo Smooth on, take it up to 2, and we'll just see what happens to that. And you can see that the shape is way too soft down here, and we lost pretty much all of those hard edges. Alright, so let's delete the Turbo Smooth, and we'll just add some edges here to improve that shape. Okay, and for the inside of the hole here, we really don't need to have the inside polygons because we have another piece that fits in here. So let's just get rid of these. Just going to ring this inner edge here. Control click polygon again, so we have those ones selected, and we'll just delete those right out. Okay, and that'll save us the time of having to actually support this shape here. If we delete it, we don't really need to add any support edges around the open hole, so we can just leave it like that. We'll cover it up later on. And you can see here, when we did the shell, it's a little twisted here on the edge where we extruded that out. So to fix that, I'm actually going to select these 2 top edges here, and we'll do a loop on those. Okay, and that should go all the way around for you. And we're actually going to control backspace that out just so it straightens this edge out so we don't have any distortion on the corners. Okay, and we'll start adding some support edges now. Alright, so let's go back to the corner here, grab that corner edge, let's do a ring on it, and we'll just connect this up. And we're going to add 2 segments here, and we'll just pinch those a little bit towards the outside to sharpen up the edge a little bit more. And we don't want it to be super sharp, we want to have it kind of roll over, so we're going to leave that a little bit farther back from the edge. We don't want to do it right like this, else it's going to be super sharp. Alright, so we'll dial that back a bit. Let's do about 75, and we'll hit OK to that. Okay, we're going to do the same process pretty much around the whole surface here, so let's grab this front edge. We'll do the back one at the same time, so control click that edge there. Another ring and another connect with 2 segments. And for this one, let's take it down slightly here, maybe a little bit more even. Let's do about 55 or so on that one. Hit OK, and we'll just go underneath. Just going to grab an edge here and hit Z so we can zoom on it. Grab this inside edge here and the same one on the other side right here. ring those two edges. Okay, so now that we have those ringed on both sides, let's do a connect on it again. And we'll do 2 segments on this one as well, and let's just leave them, whoops. Let's maybe dial it down just a little bit here. Let's do about 50 on that one, and okay. Okay, so that should be pretty much enough resolution to support the outside here. We might need to add an edge loop on the inside and outside right here on this face to kind of sharpen up this corner, but let's maybe put a turbo smooth on first and we'll see how it looks. Okay, let's do 2 iterations, a nice line. Okay, so you can see it's maintaining that hard shape around the outside here. And we'll just figure out if we need to add one on the inside. Okay, don't worry about the bottom here. We'll fix that in a minute by adding some vertical or some horizontal edges around here to kind of sharpen these corners up. Okay, so that looks okay right now. Let's maybe drop back down to poly here. Go back into the front view. And we'll just add a few edges here in the center where these long polygons are. Alright, so let's go back to edge. Just going to grab all these edges here and make sure you have ignore back facing turned off. And we'll just do a connect on this. Let's take off the pinch here, and we'll do maybe 5 segments just to break it up a bit. Okay, let's go down to the bottom. I'm going to turn on show end result here so we can see the turbo smooth, and we'll just see how these bottom edges are looking here. Okay, you can see it's a little bit sharper, but it still looks a little faceted there. We need to fix that up a bit, so let's maybe drop or get out of edge, and we'll go back up to turbo smooth here. I'm just going to do 3 iterations for a second to see if we can maybe get away with that without having to add a bunch more edge loops in here. Okay, so that looks pretty good at the bottom. We look pretty good at the top here as well. And we don't have any artifacts, which is good. I think we'll leave it like that with 3 iterations of turbo smooth, and I know that's a super high poly count here. If we turn off isoline display, you can see how divided that is there. But we'll be optimizing this mesh later on manually, so I'm not really worried about doing 3 iterations. Normally I would stick with 2, but in this case I think it'll be easier just to use 3. Alright, so leave the shield like that for now, and we can start moving on to the other pieces. Alright, I'm just gonna get out of isolation mode here. So let's maybe start on the window next. Let's just hit Alt X here with this selected. And it's going to be a little bit hard to see because we have some thickness on this piece, so we're actually looking through 2 surfaces here, which is making it a little bit difficult to see through, but it's okay, we can kind of see where the edges are here. I think the easiest way to approach this piece here will just be maybe to use a box to start it. Alright, so let's grab a box there and we'll just kind of draw it out right here. Okay, and give it a little bit of thickness, and we'll figure out the actual size in a second here. Let's just apply our gray shader to that. Okay, and we'll also make sure that we have it centered. So I'm going to right click the move tool and zero out the x-axis again and the y-axis. Alright, so it should be right in the center here. We'll just push it back a little bit more. Okay, and we want to add some vertical segments here so we can bend it the same way as we did with the shield. Okay, so let's take this up. And let's use maybe 6 segments on this one. Okay, and I'm going to just adjust the length and width here a bit. Let's maybe do 113 on the length. Whoops. We'll do say 250 on the height, and we'll just do maybe 25 on the, or 25 on the height and 250 on the width, sorry. I'm just going to try to even that out in the middle. And we'll bend it the same way here by adding a bend modifier. Alright, let's grab one of those, throw it on. Do it again on the x-axis, and let's take up the bend amount here. And in the top view, we'll just try to match the curve of the shield. Right, so it looks like about 17.5 on the x-axis is about what we were looking for. Okay, so let's convert that back to editable poly. Go back into the front view here. And I'm thinking that might be a little bit too thick here. We don't want the sides to be too thick. Let's maybe undo for a second. So we have the bend modifier again. And I'm just going to disable that for a second by clicking on light bulb so we have the straight box again. And I'm just going to bring the length down a little bit more here. Or the width, sorry. Alright, just so we don't have it so far past the opening here of the window. Let's do maybe 235. Okay, and for the length, we'll bring that down a little bit as well. I want it to kind of fit the hole here a little bit better. Let's do about 103 on that. Okay, we'll leave the height at 25, and we'll enable the bend modifier again and just adjust it if we need to. Okay, let's do about 16.5 on that, and I think that should work fine for us. Okay, so now we can convert it back to editable poly. And we'll go into polygon here. Let's grab the front polys as well as the back polys. Okay, and in the front view, toggle see-through on again, and we'll just do another inset here. And we'll take this up quite a bit. Okay, I want to take it up enough that it's actually inside the hole here. Let's do around 21 or 22 and hit OK. Alright, just like that. And same process here, we'll just bridge this through. Okay, and let me just get out a polygon here. I'm just going to turn off the see-through on that piece so we can see how much we have it sticking through on each side. Okay, that looks pretty even. Let's maybe give the front a little bit more detail. So let's grab an edge on the front and an edge on the back here and do a ring and control click polygon. And we'll just maybe bevel this out a little bit more just so it doesn't look so flat. Alright, let's maybe go down to bevel, open that up. Take the height down a little bit here, we don't want it to be too far out. And let's bevel it in a little bit more than that. Let's take down the outline amount. Alright, let's do about 4.5 for the bevel, and we'll do negative 4.8 for the outline, and hit OK. And that'll give us a little bit of a bevel detail there on the front. Okay, and now we can go through the same process of supporting this shape so we can turbo smooth it. Alright, so let's go back to edge. Now that we have that collapsed, then we should still have the edge selection on the front and back here. So we'll just do a connect on that. And once again, we'll do 2 segments here and just pinch them out. And you want to have pretty sharp edges here around the front so it doesn't look too soft. So I'm going to take those up quite a bit. We'll do about 75 and OK. And let's also do the same thing on this edge here and the same one on the back. Ring those and connect them up. And let's also do that about 75. And we'll just ring this corner edge here, which will go right through to the other side. So we'll just do a connect on that one. And we'll take this up a little bit more here to sharpen it up. Let's do around 91, 92, something like that. And the exact same thing here on the inside. Let's ring this edge and connect that one up. And we'll do that about 90. And we'll just maybe do a couple here too on this slope piece on the inside. Okay, so grab an edge there and there, front and back, ring them and connect them up. And we'll dial this one down a little bit more. About 75 should be good. Okay, so let's maybe put another turbo smooth on here. We're going to need to add some segments on the sides here so that we can kind of control the curve at the top. But let's just put a turbo smooth on there and we'll see how it looks. Okay, and you can see that's way too faceted on the corners, so we need to sharpen it up a little bit more. Okay, let's go back to the front view, drop back down into edge, and we'll grab the left edges here as well as the right ones. Okay, and be sure you have ignore back facing off once again when you select those vertical edges. Okay, so before we do a connect here, let's actually turn on showing results so we can see what it looks like when it's smooth. Okay, and we'll just open up connect now. And you can see that that sharpened that up quite a bit right there when we add those 2 edges. So we'll just figure out where these need to be. I don't want it to be too hard, but let's do maybe Let's do about 80 with 2 segments. We'll hit OK to that, and we'll see how that one looks. Just going to turn off show and result here, get out of edge, and we'll just go up to turbo smooth here. Okay, you still see the corner there, it looks a little bit faceted. Let's add a few more edges. Let's go back down to edge, and we'll just grab these vertical edges here. I'm just going to add one segment right in the center here. Okay, so we'll just do one segment, no pinch, no slide, and okay. And we also might need to add an edge right here and here. Okay, so let's grab these edges here, these ones here, and we'll just do all these at once. All right, so select those 4 edge groups there, turn back on the show and result button. Let's also turn on the light bulb there, and we'll just add another segment here. Okay, and let's do 2 segments. And we'll just pinch those out slightly here. Doesn't need to be much at all. Let's do about 15 and okay. And then we'll turn off edge here and go back up so you can see what that looks like. And you can see that looks a lot smoother on the corners. Okay, so that looks pretty good. We could clean it up a little bit by dropping back down to the edge again, turning off the show and result button. And because we added 2 loops here, we really don't need to have this inside one. We only want this one here. All right, so I'm just going to grab that edge, the same one on the bottom here, and the same 2 over on this side, this one and this one. Okay, we'll loop those edges. Okay, just these 4 here, and we can just control backspace those out, and that really won't affect the shape of the piece when it's smoothed. Okay, so we can go back up to there and see what it looks like, and that looks pretty good right there. All right, so I think that'll take care of the window piece, and we'll just continue moving on to the other smaller pieces that we have to put in here.